It's like she doesn't know what's happening. And across from the Tory benches, they were screeching at her, screaming and waving their papers, because she's literally talking tosh.
So it's wholly unpopular. So why have they?
They shouldn't be creating a dependency with people on the state, and that's exactly what's happening. You know, benefits were never designed to be a lifestyle choice. They were designed to be a safety net for people who had hit temporary hard times.
Going back to the OBR releasing this budget early, they apologised and said it was a technical error.
Oh, was it?
Now, do we think, in the words of Liz Truss, is this the machine? Is this the secret people behind the scenes who are out to get Rachel Reeves?
They probably knew she was going to use today to trumpet all the things she was going to do and make up these fictional future projections. And so I think they just decided to scupper that straight on and release it. If I was in the OBR, that's exactly what I'd do, because they must be shocked and horrified at the incompetence of this woman.
It's Wednesday, it's budget day, and we are back with another episode of the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ Anisiobi, and today joined by Geordie Hellraiser, Carole Malone. Kaz, how you doing?
I don't feel like a Hellraiser today. I feel beaten.
Really?
I feel beaten down having just listening to the idiot Reeves deliver that chopper catastrophic budget. I was listening to her then. It's like she lives in an alternative universe, isn't it? I mean, you and me were just watching it on the telly before there. And she's talking about the £22 billion hole that the Tories created. Hello, that's gone up to between 30 and 50 billion. A lot of estimates are 50 billion. But she's still blaming the Tories. She's still blaming Brexit. She's talking about, she's going, I promised that, I would keep inflation down. Hello, it's gone up by at least, nearly 2% now. It's like she doesn't know what's happening. And across from the Tory benches, they were screeching at her, screaming and waving their papers, because she's literally talking tosh. She's not talking the reality of what her government has done and what these latest moves are going to do. But the best part is not just being what she said, but she also said she was going to cut NHS waiting list. That hasn't happened. And she's talking about putting Britain on a secure footing. It's never been on a more insecure footing, thanks to her and what she's done. But the best part about it was, so she was happy to get all these figures out about growth and how growth was going to grow. It's going to be fantastic. Anyway, the Office for Budget Responsibility today, I don't know whether it was a mistake or whether they did it on purpose to do her in. They released all their predictions on what her, all her decisions, all her policies are going to do. And they're catastrophic. They're saying there's going to be no growth at all. Let me just read you some of the figures. They've downgraded growth from in 2006 from 1.9% to 1.4%, from 1.8 to 1.5 in 2028, and 1.7 to 1.5 in 2029. So everything she has said about growth and what's going to happen is tosh. The OBR have said it's not happening. They've also said that she's going to. They put out lots of stuff about the cut and fuel duty is going to remain in place. But it's almost like they released these facts to stuff her up, because at least when she's delivering the budget, she has a chance to pretend like it's all going to be okay.
Yeah,
but they've actually said right off from the off, no, it's not going to be okay. This is going to put us at the point. One of the things, debt will rise from 95% of GDP this year to 96.1% by the end of the decade. She said that wasn't going to happen. The debt was going to go down. So it's not. It's going to go rocketing up. But what has been confirmed is a lot of the stuff that we already knew, that this mansion tax is coming into place. So households...
You're screwed. You've got 3 mansions.
Well, no, I've got one house that
is it a mansion?
It's not a mansion. It's a semi-detached. But because it's in London, because I've had it for years, it's not at the 2 million threshold, but it's not far off. But what that means basically is I'm going to be paying double council tax.
Yeah.
My house price will probably go down, because people who do have houses with 2 million or more are going to lower them. So people in my bracket are going to have to lower ours. But it also means, and I think this is really important for people to understand, that council tax is supposed to be about services given to the people in the area. This is not about services. This is actually this is another form of tax, and a big tax. For people who are going to be hit by this, it's going to be $4,500 extra a year.
Yeah.
Now that is huge. I mean, even if they put a half a pence on income, or a penny on income tax, it wouldn't be that much a year.
Yeah.
But this is catastrophic for people, because a lot of people who have those houses. I mean, my house, they say it's not there yet. It could have been in 3 or 4 years, but I've had that house for 30 years. So I'm not cash rich, and I suppose I'm asset rich, and I'm not going to sell my house because Rachel Reeves says I have to. But that's going to hit a lot of those people.
Yeah, some people will have to sell their houses and downgrade somewhere smaller.
They completely will. And it's going to filter all the way down, because people with houses worth 1.1, they're going to be worth 900 now, and all the way down to the bottom. So this is going to completely scupper the housing market. I mean, I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, the mansion tax won't apply to me. Well, it will. I'm afraid it will, because it is going to filter down. But it's ironic, she has been saying, well, she said, listen to me, when she got into government, I am not going to put up taxes for working people. And here she has billions, 28 billion, was it 26 billion quid's worth of new taxes.
Highest we've had in 70 years for working people.
And, and she was the one slating the Tories for it being the highest level 3 years ago. She scrapped the 2-child benefit cap.
Yeah.
That's going to cost $3 billion on the welfare bill. But more importantly, that means that families with 6 kids or more, all of those families are going to get an extra £14,000 a year. I mean, I resent paying for people to have children who can't afford them. If we all know families sensible, hard-working families who don't have more than 2 kids because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have certain people, and I'll guarantee it isn't people who are in work, it'll be people who don't work, who will have 4, 5, 6 kids that they can't afford. And the likes of the rest of us, working and middle-class people are going to have to pay for them.
Why have Labour done this one? Because all the polls suggest that most people in the country don't want to have the cap removed. And 60% of Labour voters are against it as well. So it's wholly unpopular. So why have they?
She's doing it because the hard left of her party want her to do it, and they've pressurised her for years to do this. Not just since she got into power, but even before that. It was before, when they were in opposition. The 2-child benefit cap was an issue for the hard left. They want everyone to be given everything for free. And what she should have done in this budget. She should have, the welfare bill is now nudging 100 billion quid. What she's doing now is going to add another 18 billion quid to that. There are no cuts in sight. She has no intention of cutting that. We have 5,000 people a day, JJ, signing up for sickness benefits. We have 3 million more people since COVID claiming sickness and disability benefits.
Yeah.
We have 1.2 million migrants claiming benefits. This is unsustainable. And what she's doing is punishing you, me, everyone in this studio, everyone around the country. She's punishing the hard-working people who've done all the right things, who've worked and saved. She's punishing them. We now have to pay for the people who are languishing on benefits. There should have been a wholesale restoration of benefits, and the hard left won't let her do it.
Yeah.
Remember what happened last time when they proposed a measly 5 billion quid worth of benefits, and Starmer and her were threatened with their jobs. So they're never going to do it, because they care more about keeping their jobs than they do about getting this country back on its feet.
Yeah.
So I just find it abhorrent that we are now where the state should be persuading people to go to work. They shouldn't be creating a dependency with people on the state, and that's exactly what's happening. Benefits were never designed to be a lifestyle choice. They were designed to be a safety net for people who had hit temporary hard times. And then it's not now. It's a lifestyle choice for millions and millions of people in this country. Do you know one fact which shocks me to my core? More than 50% of households in this country now receive more in benefits than they pay in tax. Now, how can that be sustainable?
Oh, it's not sustainable. Not at all. But it feels as if literally everyone, apart from the people who essentially don't work and aren't paying tax at all, everyone else is getting shafted.
Yes.
The richest are getting shafted. Us in the middle,
Yeah.
to just about making it each month, we're getting shafted. And the people who are at the very bottom, they're being given even more
Everything.
handouts.
They're getting more and more handouts. 18 billion quid's worth more in this budget, and it just you're encouraging people not to work. If you can get 25 grand a year in benefits, why would you go and do a job on the minimum wage? I mean, when I think about it, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
If someone said to me, "Go and work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, in a job where you get a few quid an hour," but if you go on benefits, you get 25 grand. Well, why would you work? We've got to, the Tories were putting policies in place to make work pay. And that's what they should have been doing. But because Labour are so wedded to this idea of their brand of socialism, but what socialism now means is if you don't work, you get everything. If you don't work, you've got to pay for the people who don't work.
But this is good news, isn't it, for Nigel Farage and reform?
I think it probably is, although, we've seen the concerted efforts that are going on at the moment to try and discredit Farage. His former classmates of 50 years ago can remember whole conversations that they had with him, which I find a bit odd because I can't remember what happened yesterday. But I do find it astonishing. But I think that every time they go for Farage in this way, I think he just gets a few more votes. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here. Reeves did a stupid thing like 4 days before this budget, which is, the predictions have always been catastrophic. She actually did this little speech where she said, "I'm going to stay in place. I'm going nowhere. I'm doing this." And I noticed in her budget today, she was going, "These are my decisions." I think she's been made to say that because when they fire her, when Salma fires her, all her decisions. And so she will have to carry the can for when it all goes bosh. And it will.
Well, Reeves also got told off, very gently, but told off by the Speaker of the House. It's been chaotic. The Parliament is supposed to know first before the media and the public are being told about every single detail. And it's been leaked for weeks. It feels like we've been hearing about what's going to come out in the budget.
I've never known leaks like this.
Yeah.
In 40 odd years in journalism, I've never known leaks like this. But I think, she really doesn't know what she was doing. I think what she was doing was floating the ideas, putting them out there, seeing what the public's reaction to them were going to be, and then going, "Oh, well, I better not do that," and then going back to the drawing board. And because she's held the budget so late this year, that combined with her not knowing what she's doing have just caused massive, massive uncertainty in business. I mean, I just did a show this morning and a few people who own businesses rang in and they just said, because she's also increasing, by the way, she's increasing the minimum wage, which is going to put a lot of people out of work. And businesses were saying today, people who own them were saying today, that they can't afford, they'll just take on fewer people.
Yeah.
So there's going to be fewer jobs. And that will impact on young people, which she says are the very people she's trying to help. It's like she can't see the consequences of her actions.
Yeah.
Which is literally why she shouldn't be there. She makes Sunak look like a financial genius.
Well, compared to her, he was.
He was.
Yeah.
This guy ran a trust fund. He knew about money.
Yeah.
But this woman seems to know nothing about what's going on. Everything that she's doing is gonna kill growth. It's gonna kill businesses. She said something today. She said, "We are going to bring Britain's biggest and best into Britain." Does she not know that 247,000 of Britain's brightest and the best have left this year alone, and many more are planning to go? I mean, Mittal, one of the richest businessmen in the world, is planning to leave Britain because of what she's doing. He's going. But she said, "We're going to bring the brightest and the best." No, you're not. They've gone. They've left already. And what's left are the middle classes and the working classes that have to pay for all the mistakes she's made so far and the ones that she's making today.
Well, a friend of mine owns a rock company in Blackpool. The rock where it says Blackpool through the middle.
Blackpool Rock.
Blackpool Rock.
Not rocks to build walls.
No, Blackpool Rock, the candy. And he was saying to me over the weekend that because of the increase in minimum wage, he is having to decide which of his staff he's now going to have to get rid of because he simply cannot afford to keep them all on, which also then has a knock-on effect of he's going to have to do less hours of work during the day because he hasn't got enough staff to keep the shops and the factories open.
Does she not get that? She's, if you and I get that, we have no financial qualifications
especially
whatsoever.
You are especially dim. So if even you get it...
People watching this will know who's the dimmest. But if you and I know that, how can't the woman who's running the country's economy know that? And I mean, there was a lady I spoke to this morning. She runs a hairdresser. She's got 3 hairdressers. And she was saying she's having to sack juniors who've done like a year and a half's training, who've got like a year to go. She's having to get rid of them because she literally can't afford them.
Yeah.
And she's got 3 hairdressers. She said, I think I'm going to have to close at least 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
So how is that good for the economy? It's just,
And Starmer's flip-flopping over issues it's come to bite him back in the butt now, because with the removal of the 2-child benefit cap coming in April next year,
Yes.
it was last year that Zara Sultana of the Your Party, that's what they're called now.
I don't know the
Your Party, her and
whatever.
Corbyn. She was suspended from Labour for saying we should abolish the 2-child cap benefits,
Yeah.
and now they're going to do it.
Now they're
So
gonna do it. Man, the thing is, Zara Sultana should be suspended from every party she ever stands for, because she doesn't know what she's talking about. But that's by the by. But but I think their inability and their reluctance to take on welfare. I mean, people are saying, a lot of the left are saying, oh well, we should be cutting pensioners' money. We should be cutting the triple locks. That should have gone this time. Well, no, it shouldn't, because, pensioners get 12.5 grand a year. We have 2 million of them on
Yeah.
the state pension. We have 2 million others living in poverty. So below the poverty line, we have 1.1 million just hovering above the poverty line. So why would we be cutting benefits to pensioners? And it's not really a benefit, actually. It's payback for a lifetime of work. When people
Exactly.
call benefits a benefit, it's not a benefit. It's
money owed.
It's money owed and money that's been earned and
Yeah.
money that's been paid to various governments. And it just hacks me off that people talk about pensioners like they're a nuisance, like they're
Yeah.
a burden. The people who are the burden are the people who don't work and have never worked and never will work,
Yeah.
because they're 3rd generation who've never had a job. But the pensioners are people who've worked. Any civilised society looks after its most vulnerable.
Absolutely.
And we are, this government, and people in this government thinks pensioners are a burden. As we saw, the very first thing they did when they got into power was take away the heat. The NHS today, I was looking at some of the advice they put out for pensioners who are going to be cold this winter. You know what their advice was?
What was it?
Put old towels in the cracks of the doors.
Wow.
That's people who may die of the cold. Put old towels in the cracks in the doors. And yet we have people who want to cut the pension. So the pensioners this year, because of inflation, whatever, they're going to get a 4.8 rise, which takes their pension to about 12,578, I think, which takes many of them into tax as well, apart from all of that. But this pension, they're going to get a pension rise of 4.8% with the triple lock. That takes their pensions up to about 12,578, which takes many of them over the threshold for paying tax. But people on benefits this year are getting a raise of 4%. So why shouldn't pensioners, the most vulnerable in our society, get that raise of 4%? And I tell you, I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time I got a rise of 4% or anyone else in the private sector got that kind of rise.
Yeah.
Public sector, wow, it goes from anything from 4 to 10.
Yeah.
And if you're a junior doctor, a bit more than that. But so why shouldn't pensioners? Because food inflation is now at 5%, thanks to this government. Inflation itself is up to 4%, I think. I can't remember the exact figures. But all inflation has gone up. So why shouldn't pensioners keep in line with that? Should they stick on the 12.5 forever? The people who are saying that should be taken away from them, that's a few dinners for them and a holiday. It's just appalling.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Just going back to the OBR releasing this budget early, they apologised and said it was a technical error.
Oh, was it?
Now, do we think, in the words of Liz Truss, is this the machine? Is this the secret people behind the scenes who are out to get
I don't think
Rachel
this
Reeves?
released an error at all. I think they've probably told her over the weeks leading up to the budget not to do some of the things that she's doing. And they probably knew she was going to use today to trumpet all the things she was going to do and make up these fictional future projections. And so I think they just decided to scupper that straight on and release it. If I was in the OBR, that's exactly what I'd do, because they must be shocked and horrified at the incompetence of this woman. And what the other thing I found really evil this week was that she's now putting out that the people criticising her are misogynists.
Yeah.
Well, in which case, what about all the women who really hate her and think she's stupid as well? We're not misogynists. But to use that argument is so weak and so pathetic. She said if it was a man doing the job, they wouldn't get the same kind of criticism. Well, if the man was as stupid as her and has made as many mistakes as her, he would get exactly the same kind of criticism.
I remember Osborne getting slammed for essentially killing the country with austerity.
Of course.
Yeah.
But, it's the fantasy land that she lives in. She's at that budget, in the comments today, she stood up and talked about a country I don't recognise. She talked about a country that was doing brilliantly well, that was growing and the economy was fine and it was going to be fine and the NHS waiting lists are going down. No, none of that is true.
Yeah.
And does she think we're all stupid that we know what she's saying is not true? So that I think, back to your question about the OBR, I think they knew she was going to tell all those lies and speak all that tosh, and they just thought, right, we're going to scupper that right from the start, and they have.
As Rachel Reeves delivered a huge shake-up to the British tax system, the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, is planning huge reforms of his own to our judicial system. To try and cut the huge pile-up of unheard cases, he wants to ban jury trials for all but the most serious charges, such as rape, murder and manslaughter. But Lammy's blue sky thinking has drawn a swift backlash from senior lawyers who said that they would not reduce court backlogs and could destroy justice as we know it. Now, I am a student of law, Carole.
Oh, you don't?
I am.
I didn't know that.
I know. There's many things about
What
me
are
you
you
don't
doing
know.
in journalism then?
I know. I'm not good with money.
You must have been bad at it. You must have been like David Lammy, really bad at it. Go on.
But having trial by jury, that is in our Magna Carta.
Absolutely.
That is what I was taught
800
at
euro.
university.
The Magna Carta said, in a court of law, it is your peers who decide if you're guilty or innocent, not the state. And the whole point about the jury is that it's seen as a protection, a safeguard against abuse of power by the state. And as we know this year, we have seen abuse of judicial power by our judges when they're looking at immigration cases, when they're looking at foreign criminals, the deportation of, they won't deport any of them.
Yep.
Rapists, paedophiles, they won't deport them. And they're using their twisted interpretations of ECHR to allow these people to stay. So we've seen that there are judges now who cannot be impartial.
Yeah.
And 5 years ago, we could never have said that because their partiality was sacrosanct. But we now have seen some of the decisions they make. So it's more important than ever now that we have a jury trial, that we have jury trials, especially, with this government that is constantly accused of a two-tier legal system, of two-tier justice, two-tier law. We know this is the case. And, I don't want to judge because a lot of these cases, if it's just the judge deciding, that means that the court process is held in secret. It means that the media doesn't get to know. It means we don't get to report on what is happening in these cases. And David Lammy has changed his tune on this, which I find astonishing. In the not too very distant past, listen to his quote. He said, "Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement." Now, when I was doing my research on this yesterday, I found that very sentence in a law journal. I think he's nicked it. But anyway, you would if you're as daft and thick as he is. But anyway, but he was also one of the key backers in a campaign to stop the abolition of jury trials. He was also a key member of that. In a Channel 4 documentary, because I also noticed he was talking about COVID being responsible for the massive backlog. I think there was a 75,000 backlog in jury trials. He said in a Channel 4 documentary not too very long ago that we can't keep blaming COVID for the backlog. So he's completely changed his tune. And of course that's normal for this Labour government because they say one thing and it means something entirely different. But I think it's really dangerous to do this. I was a crime reporter for quite a few years, and so I've sat through a lot of jury trials where the jury dropped off, they weren't interested, picking their nose, talking to each other, flirting with each other, not listening to the evidence, which is bad. However, I've also been at a lot of trials where they were spot on. And also remember, at the end of the trial, the judge does a summation, a summing up.
Yeah.
So he makes clear the evidence they may not have understood. But as as many flaws as the jury system has, this would be catastrophic for our justice system, because it's all down to one judge, his interpretation of the law, what he thinks or feels about the person who is in front of him or about the issue in front of him, and that we can't have the state deciding the punishments for people. That's not what happens in a democratic society. It is your peers that decide, not the state.
Well, look, I've played prosecutor. Let me now stand for the defence.
Right, go on then.
80,000 cases in the backlog.
Yes.
I'm putting the victims at the forefront now. I don't want to have to, if I get mugged and assaulted by someone, I don't want to have to wait 5 years for that to go through. I want to move on with my life. So actually, I'm going to say to the judge, I don't want this guy, this man to be tried by jury. I want you to decide, because you are a learned man of law. So decide what happens to him, and we can get it done within the next 2 months, please.
I think the cases. I don't have any specific examples of the kinds of cases that are delayed for 2, 3, maybe 4 years. I don't. But I would find it very hard to believe that those cases would be A, rape victims, B, murder victims. I don't think that would be the case. I think it would be the smaller crimes that would be part of the backlog. But the reason we have a backlog is because we have a country that doesn't work anymore. Since COVID, this country has gone to hell. No one puts in a full day at the office anymore. We've got zillions of people working from home, can't be bothered to come in. You can't clear backlogs and make organisations work properly if people aren't working at full pelt. This is down to disorganisation. This is not about COVID. This is disorganisation and people not doing their jobs properly. So I think, yes, there's a backlog, and yes, people might be waiting, but I don't believe the most serious cases would be waiting, because if you're accused of murder, you're very probably in custody or in prison. They don't want you there. They want you sorted and out. But the other thing that I'd say about having judges deciding, we know that judges are guided by the state, by government, and they are told not to jail people for minor offences because there is no room in the jails. So what does that mean? That means that a whole load of low-level crimes are going to go unpunished, because the judge is not going to put them in jail. He might give them a bit of a fine, but that's not justice. And if you're a victim, you want justice, and that they won't get it.
All right, and I'll put forward this case.
Go on then.
There is evidence of people playing the system, hoping that so they go to the magistrates' courts, they say, actually I want to be tried by jury, and they hope that the longer it goes on, evidence disappears. Witnesses say, I don't want to live through this again, I'm not going to come forward and do it. And then it gets to the judge, and the judge says, right, case dismissed, next one.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that, because yes, I'm sure there are scammers in every system, and I'm sure that is absolutely the case in this as well. But we have much more pressing problems in our legal system than that, like the fact that we have no prison places, like the fact that prisoners, serious criminals, are being released early and committing more havoc on our streets. So the fact that someone might wait for 3 years if they've committed a minor offence and get off with it, I'm not that bothered about that. Yes, everyone should be punished for wrongdoing, but I'm more bothered about the big things that are happening within the justice system. And I think to do this dismantles the Magna Carta for a start. We had the Leveson report last year, which said that the Brits didn't have a constitutional right to a jury trial. Well, that's news to me. It's been in the Magna Carta. It hasn't been repealed. That hasn't been changed. But Lord Leveson's review just decided that we don't have a constitutional right to a jury trial. And what that says to me is that we now have a government that wants to control. This is not about saving costs or getting rid of a backlog. This is about power. And that's what I truly believe. This is about controlling the state. Look what happened in the Southport riots. We have enough experience now of the courts to know that that the justice system was manipulated over those riots, and people were told to plead guilty to things that they'd be passed through quickly. Nothing would happen to them. Woof, they were sent to prison for 18 months, hence people like Lucy Connolly. We've seen how the two-tier system works. We've seen how foreign criminals in this country get preferential treatment to British criminals. They do. British criminals, they do. They get, they should be deported for raping, for abusing children, and yet they're not.
Yeah,
they're allowed to move in society still. So we've seen the corruption of our legal system, and that will only get worse without juries.
I think the person who designed your cardigan should be up on trial
This
for
is quite old,
crimes against fashion.
No, it's quite nice. I think it's quite bright. I want it to be bright. in among your dullness and greyness. I wanted a bit of glitter on.
Details of a new UK clinical trial to assess the risks and benefits of puberty-blocking drugs in kids who question their gender have been announced. It follows the banning of the drugs for gender treatment last year after a major review raised concerns about the lack of clinical evidence over their safety for under 18s. Now, researchers from King's College London say the trial will involve around 220 children under the age of 16 who are going through puberty and will examine the impact of the drugs on their physical, social and emotional well-being. Carole, how is this mentality even being considered
Shocked
real?
to my core, this story. We live in a country now that is prepared to experiment on kids, to use them as human guinea pigs. Some of these kids are going to be as young as 10, and they will have been persuaded to take part in these trials, having been told that this could solve their problems, make them happier, make their lives their normal, whatever their normal is. It's tosh. It's not going to work. When we're talking about these puberty blockers, let's say what they do. These drugs cause infertility. They affect bone density. They can cause brain damage. They cause depression. They stunt growth. They can affect your sexual organs, and they're going to foist all these on 10-year-old kids. Now, the CAS review made clear last year that these drugs, there was not enough evidence that these drugs would work on children and that were damaging to children.
Yeah.
And which is why the government banned them later that same year on anyone under the age of 18, which makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Because even at 18, I'm not entirely sure that people should be allowed to start interfering with their body in that way, but at least they have a better understanding of what they're doing than, say, a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old. You might remember Kira Bell. She was the woman who took the Tavistock Clinic, which was a gender identity clinic.
Yeah.
She took them to the High Court back in 2020, and they ruled in her favour. And what the High Court said then, they were dismayed at the level of experimentation with children by so-called professionals, clinicians and doctors. Now, Kira Bell, now she decided quite soon into her treatment, but which by then the effects were irreversible. Kira had had a double mastectomy. She had atrophied sexual organs. She will have a permanently altered voice. She has facial hair. She can't ever get rid of any of those things.
Yeah.
And she realised that she was just a young girl who was uncomfortable in her own skin and was having problems over her sexual orientation. Mm-hmm. But she was put through she was given these drugs at quite a young age. Now, here we have, this is a government-sponsored trial, experiment on little kids. And it shocks me to my core that it's happening. Two, that any parent would let their kids go through this. And, King's College London are doing this trial and they're saying, oh, it's going to be safe. How the hell do they know it's going to be safe? 9,000 people went through the Tavistock Clinic while it was open. And many of them have been damaged irreparably and now regret what they did. And if you want data on these puberty blockers, you look at those 9,000 people. Go talk to them. Find out what their lives are like. Find out what's happened. Are they better? Are their lives better or worse? You have your data. You have decades of data right there. Mm-hmm. And yet they want to do this to kids as young as 10. I just find it incredible that a civilized society would let this happen.
If in 10 years' time some of these kids turn around and say, I'm 25 years old now, big mistake, I didn't want to do it, I was coerced into it. Who takes responsibility then? The NHS, the parents, the researchers?
But the NHS is now totally in the thrall of the Trans Brigade. Both the Trans Brigade and the NHS heard the CAS review. They heard what was said in that review, and they've just thought, sod that, we're going to carry on pushing these drugs, and that's exactly what they've just ignored everything that review said, and they're determined to shove these drugs into kids. Now, what that tells me is that we have an NHS that doesn't give a stuff about wrecking children's lives, and that is shocking, I think.
Graham Linehan has been cancelled essentially for years for speaking out on this very issue.
Yes.
But ultimately, he was right.
Yes. Well, it doesn't make sense, for a kid. If I was reading some stuff the other day that said that the part of your brain that is responsible for making complex decisions.
Oh, it's not even developed yet.
It's not developed by the time you're 22, 23.
Yeah.
So how the hell can a kid of 13 think I should be taking these drugs? And the reason they take them is because the clinicians and the doctors tell them it's going to make them better. A lot of these kids, and there's been a lot of studies done on this, who have taken these drugs are autistic. They're confused about their sexuality. They don't know whether they're gay or straight, and they're confused about that.
Yeah.
Many of them come from troubled backgrounds. Many of them suffer from depression. So it isn't about them being trapped in the wrong body. They've just got other problems that the Tavistock, for instance, was not keen to explore. It was just very keen to throw these drugs at them, and they still want to do it. And that is frightening for me, that, the government, instigates an investigation. It comes out with a review that says kids should not be taking these. And here we have an NHS-sponsored trial now to make these kids. So what was the point of the CAS review?
Well, if that wasn't woke enough for you, let me just take it up a notch for our final story. An event in New York has merged high fashion with animal rights activism through an extraordinary collection made entirely from the fleece of gay sheep. The I Will Survive show represents a collaboration between LA-based designer Michael Schmidt, German non-profit organisation Rainbow Wool, and queer dating app Grindr. The initiative aims to rescue male sheep, which show no interest in mating with females, from being sent to slaughter. I mean, maybe they're just not into the female sheep. Doesn't mean they're gay. They're just maybe they're ugly. The sheep.
I just don't know how you determine if a sheep is gay.
Surely it has to have sex with other rams for it to be gay.
I don't know. I heard a farmer on the radio the other day talking about this. He said he had rams that did it with each other. I mean, obviously they're not producing babies, but they just. So I suppose you'd class those ones as gay.
Yeah.
But then they're still going to get slaughtered for their wool. This designer has said he will only use the wool, hasn't he, of gay sheep.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite hard for him to source that, because if I was a farmer and I was selling the wool of my sheep, I would just lie and say it's gay. These are from gay sheep. I would just lie, wouldn't you? I mean, it's just a ridiculous premise to base your fashion collection on, or even your beliefs on. It's just a crazy thing.
I would do what they do in the Chinese zoos. I'd get some dogs and I'd say, no, this is a sheep. And I'd spray the face black and spray the one like, it's a gay sheep.
You see,
this dog identifies as a gay sheep.
I have a dog and I'm convinced he's gay because he's so not interested in girls.
Murphy, your dog's Murphy,
right?
My
dog's Murphy. He's only interested in boys.
Right.
And it's not even that he tries to, mate with them. It's just he just likes them better. He doesn't like girls at all.
I can understand that.
Yeah,
I think all men can understand that.
Apart from me, obviously. He loves me. But so I mean, but it is an odd thing with gayness and animals, isn't it?
Yeah. But I find the whole thing pretty bizarre.
I wouldn't be basing my career on it, do you know? I wouldn't be basing my career around gay sheep, for instance, or gay dogs. Or
is this cardigan gay wool?
This cardigan is not wool. Not entirely sure what it is. But I thought I'd put a bit of glitter on it to combat your very dull shades of grey and your black T-shirt. I mean, it's smart, but you're not Christmassy, are you?
No.
You're not even embracing Christmas
Sorry, what?
yet.
It's 26th of November. It's not Christmas time yet.
Well, but it is.
December 1.
No, I know, but we're getting close. London is all done out now. Everywhere, every time I drive anywhere, people have their trees that have got their lights up. Yeah. So get with it.
This is not Christmassy what you're wearing. This
is
like Blackpool drag queen.
No, this is not.
RuPaul-esque.
You see, if that was coming from someone who understood fashion, I might take it. But I'm not going to from you.
Well, Carole, thank you very much. And on that
pleasure.
bombshell, I'll leave the room. The caffeine's worn off.
Good.
Good. Thank you for watching the Daily Expresso. Join us again tomorrow, where I'll be joined by Tory MP Esther McVeigh, a woman who truly knows fashion, not like you, Carole. Bye-bye.